Hi, everybody, and welcome to week 2. Hopefully last week you really got to be able to figure out how to use Blackboard and post your first Go reaction. So those assignments were really kind of, I think, a way to prime you for how to use this class online. I hope you enjoyed the communication process video. Talking about Mean Girls is always one of my favorite things to do. To quote the movie, it starts coming out like word vomit. Like, I can understand that people don't want to hear me talk about Mean Girls anymore, but I just keep going. So if you did the extra credit assignment and watched Mean Girls and completed that, I hope that that was a fun thing to do this weekend. You may notice that, I don't know if you can tell, but I am wearing my Frozen Broadway t-shirt. I usually don't wear t-shirts when I lecture, but this one fits in really, really well today. And that's because for every video lecture or lesson that we learn in this class, I really like to theme it off of something pop culture or use like a major kind of through example or narrative example throughout the lecture. And today we are going to be talking about Frozen. So for you parents who have seen Frozen 1 and Frozen 2 every single day since 4 years ago, I'm sorry, but you're going to be dealing with it again today. For those of you that hate Frozen, I'm sorry, I'm also using it today. And for those of you that, like me, are Frozen junkies, hopefully you'll enjoy it. But I do want to show a clip before we get started today. So let me share my screen here, make sure that I'm using the sound, and we will get started. So I'm about to show this clip, and as I show this clip, I want you to think about why I might be beginning our lecture today. So typically, in class, I would open it up for a discussion. Why would we be talking about this today? But maybe jot it down in your notes why you think we're learning this today, or what you think this clip means.
Yeah, I mean, we're used to you, but dude, you're weird. I mean, and for Nina to let you meet her parents, I
think what Kelsey's trying to say is that maybe you don't make the best first impression. Like, remember the first time you met my parents? Mom, Dad, this is Fez.
Well, hello there.
He did what?
Yeah, and then it actually got even more disturbing.
Get this creepy bastard off me. Man, I never heard that story. Wait, so how was Foreman's mom?
Well, at first she was giving me nothing, but by the end she was giving me something.
Yeah, she's spunky. Man, I'd kiss your mom.
All right, so this is from one of my favorite shows of all time, that 70s show. This show was huge when it first came out. They tried to do that 80s show afterwards, and that didn't really work, but the show really kind of made the careers of Wilmer and Ashton and Mila Kunis and basically everyone that was on this show got super famous because of this show. But I like starting class today with this clip because as you're watching, you might, see some differences. Typically we don't kiss our friends' parents on the lips the first time we meet them. Maybe we give them a wave or we give them a firm handshake, but Fez from a different country greets strangers with kisses. Now, this was a very dramatic representation, but in Europe, overseas, I have some friends in France and some friends in Greece, and they always do like on the sides of each other's faces. That's like a hug or a handshake or something to us. So where we are globally changes how we communicate. And one of the characteristics of communication that we talked about last week was culture, and how communication is always linked to culture. So that's exactly where we're going today. So what we're focusing on this week is how culture impacts our interpersonal communication and really helps us construct our relationships, right? We form and we maintain relationships based on cultural ongoings, right? Like how we exist in our culture and how culture has shaped our society in turn reflects the kinds of friendships and relationships that we make. And to do so, we will be using the men and women of Frozen, or I should say the women and men of Frozen, because this is a story from another culture that takes American values, Swedish values, values of what it means to be family, from what it means to be lovers, what it means to be friends, and kind of blends them all together. We're really going to be focused on Frozen 1 here, but Frozen 2 is a whole nother cultural explosion on its own. I actually think that Frozen 2 is way better than Frozen 1. So if you haven't yet seen Frozen 2, go ahead and check it out. But all of the stuff I'm going to be showing and using throughout this lecture is mostly on Frozen 1. So if you haven't guessed already, your reading for this week should have been chapter 2, which is about culture. And I believe I'm having you, and gender, culture and gender. So we're going to be talking about how communication can be gendered as well. And that might bleed in a little bit more next week too. All right, so first things first, we need to define culture. And we'll have Sven and Christoph help us here. But culture is the system of learned and shared symbols, language, values, and norms that distinguish one group of people from another. So it's how we speak, it's the morality of our communication, it's the societal norms and the values that are in place that distinguish, I'm from here and I'm like this from another group of people. I'm from here and we're like this as well. All right, and cultures are made of 5 components. So first, there's symbols. We talked about that already, right? Language and communication is symbolic. Second, there's language, right? Language, foreign language, English, Spanish, French, Italian, Japanese, Greek. These are all different styles of language. The third component is values. Different cultures have different societal values and things like that construct situational cues and those kinds of things. We have norms as our fourth, so, societal norms and those kinds of things. And the fifth one is co-cultures, which I actually think is super duper interesting. So let's go into these in a little bit more detail. Oh, here's a Frozen 2. So first, when we talk about the cultural component of symbols, it's something that represents an idea. So we see a pumpkin spice latte commercial, and that's a symbolic cue for the fall, right? Leaves falling from the trees, fall. So we've created those symbols to educate that form of language. So it's something that represents an idea. Language is verbal and nonverbal. So how we speak verbally and how we speak nonverbally. This is actually very, very different in other cultures. I remember my first year of teaching, I was at Kansas State University, and we had a really big partnership with one of the schools from Japan. So we would send students to Japan, and Japan would send students to us, kind of like a foreign exchange program. And I noticed that all of my Japanese students were having a very, very hard time hitting the eye contact requirement for speeches in class. They would just give their speech looking at their notes or looking down, and they would lose a lot of points. So I eventually, it was my first time teaching, and I was nervous to kind of confront the student about this, but I eventually pulled one of my students to the side, and I was like, hey, what's going on? I noticed that you don't engage in eye contact a lot during your speech, and that's a huge part of your grade. Like, a good speaker has to, see their audience and talk to their audience, not to their notes. What's going on? What can I help you? Is it nerves? And she kind of told me that she's very uncomfortable looking at authority figures. She never looks at her teachers in the eye because in Japan, that's a form of cultural disrespect. So they don't make eye contact with their elders. That's seen as disrespectful. So she was just engaging in her normal cultural behavior of language non-verbally by not looking at me while giving her speeches. Whereas in America, we want to have that eye-to-eye contact. So that's a very different cultural norm based on our nonverbal language. And that kind of stuff. So where we're at around the world and the type of culture that we're in impacts our language, whether that's verbally in what we physically say or non-verbally what we do or give off. The third component is values. These are the standards for judging how good, desirable, or beautiful something is, right? So we have different values present. I just got a kitten. I'm so sorry, but he's in my plants right now, so I have to go stop him. Zeus, no. You're not supposed to be in there. I'll show you my little kitchen. He is such a baby. Say hi, Zeus. Hi. Some of you asked me if I had any pets. This is one of them. All right, go play with your brother. Values. Sorry. So these are the standards for judging how good, desirable, or beautiful something is. Here in America, we've got a value on physicality, right? If we're not going to the gym and getting buff, then we're not hot. We're not good looking. We will never be on a reality TV show, right? So our standards here in America for beauty are very, very high. In other parts of the world, it's not so high. In fact, there's a town in Italy known as the Ugly Town, and they have an ugly club, and you can only live in that town and be in that club if you're quote unquote societally defined as ugly. So there's different values across the world based on our different cultural standards. In Europe, they value time off, so they work less. They have months where no one's working. They call it higa in Sweden, where you take time off to do something that you love. America, we do not value that. It's work, work, work all day long, time. So the value on work is slightly higher here than in European countries. So values change depending on cultural norms, which leads us to norms. These are the expectations that guide people's behaviors, right? It's what we've learned, what we should and shouldn't do in public, behind closed doors. You know, you wouldn't go to the mall and be like, I have coronavirus, right? You wouldn't do that. You'd keep that to yourself. You'd engage in social distancing. You'd stay home. So when people break this behavior that we deemed appropriate, it's a rupture in our societal norms. And those norms change depending on culture, right? In Japan, you don't look authority figures in the eye. Here in America, we do. If you don't look at me in the eye when we're having a conversation, I would take that as a sign of disrespect. So it's different depending on your culture. And then finally, we have co-cultures. This is groups of people who share values, customs, and norms related to mutual interests or characteristics of their normal or their national citizenship. So these are different cultures within cultures, right? We've got Democrats and Republicans. Both are very American, but both value different American norms or values or language or symbols, right? One's red, one's blue, one's a donkey, one's an elephant, those kinds of things. Oh my gosh, now he's on the table. Oh, no. We do not walk on the table. We're just gonna hang out here. All right, so I am a teacher. That's my co-culture. I exist in teacher culture. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, so maybe I am a Harry Potter co-culture. I'm a Disney buff, obviously. We are learning about Frozen in college. So these are all interests that I share with other groups of people. I could be American. I can also be a professional. I can be gay. I can be a Disney fan. I can be a fur daddy. I have pets. So these are all different cultural groups that I belong to under the umbrella of my American culture or my Italian culture, those kinds of things, right? So the next, I want to show a clip, and to help us understand all of these different cultural components is Olaf. This is one of my favorite songs from Frozen. It's actually a short and it opened before Coco, came out around the holidays a couple of years ago and opened before the movie Coco. So I'm going to show the full song of Olaf basically going door to door to collect cultures to bring back to the palace. So him, Anna, Elsa, Kristoff, and Sven can celebrate the holiday season because the girls have really never celebrated it before because their parents died so young and, you know, all that stuff. So I'm going to show the clip here. You're probably going to want to write down some examples of symbols, language, values, norms, and co-cultures. So what are the things that Olaf is collecting? What is some of the more symbolic types of language? What could some values and norms be? Do you see any co-cultures existing? I'm going to let you know that this goes really quick, and there's so many examples of all 5 of these components in this video clip. So as soon as you see them, write them down in your notes. Maybe you want to pause right here and kind of give yourself a grid: symbols, language, values, norms, co-cultures, and start writing things down, because in the assignment that I'm going to have you do for this, I'm going to have you write, you know, type all those up. What was a symbol that you saw in Olaf's song? What symbol does it mean? How does it relate to culture? So you're going to have to answer all of those questions in an assignment. So here we go. I hope you enjoyed the clip. And for those of you that don't like Frozen, I apologize, but I think it goes really well. So here we go.
Good afternoon. I am Olaf.
Hey, Olaf!
Please let me finish, and I like warm hugs. This is my associate Sven. We're going door to door looking for family traditions. Tell us yours and we'll decide if it's special enough.
Oh, we make candy canes together.
Ooh! Sugar rush.
You're supposed to eat it.
Eat my new nose? Why would I do that?
Because it's that time of year.
It's that time of year. Happy, merry, holly jolly season's greetings here. I'm wondering what your family does at that time of year. Love and joy and peace on earth and tidings of good cheer. Do you have tradition things for that time of year?
Well, we hang up boughs of evergreen on every single doorway.
Bake a giant cookie in the wavy shape of Norway.
Go from door to door while sailing with our choir.
Hang up all your giant socks above an open fire. That sounds safe. So happy, merry Yuletide carol, faithful friends are dear. Thanks for sharing what you do at that time of year. We better get a move on if we're gonna hit every house in the kingdom. Jolly, merry, happy, holly on a midnight clear. I'm here to ask you what you do at that time of year. Hi, shalom, happy solstice, fancy chandelier. I'm looking for tradition stuff for that time of year.
Well, we make our decorations out of blossom and jetsam.
Bake a yummy fruit cake and you can't leave till you get some.
That went right through me.
Buy each other presents and then hide them very nimbly.
Wait up for a chubby man to shimmy down your chimney. Breaking and entering, okay on Christmas. Oh, happy, merry, Yuletide barrels, faithful, gladsome cheer. Thanks for sharing what you do at that time of year. Thank you.
We knit scarves and sweaters and we wear our matching mittens.
Don't forget the jammies that I knitted for my kittens. 8 nights in a row we light menorahs on our mantles.
You cut down a tree and then you dress its corpse with candles. I love it! Anna and Elsa will have all that they need. I'll fill my sleigh here with the help of my steed. It'll be the best time of year. Faith here at that time of year.
All right. So I love that clip. I watch it like literally as soon as Thanksgiving is over and it gets into the holiday season. I throw a Frozen party and we start the party with this, and then we watch Frozen 1, and now this year we're going to be watching Frozen 2. So I hope that you enjoyed that Olaf clip and lots of things that he talks about there. I don't want to give anything away because I want you to have stuff to write for your assignment, but I'll also post that video along with the assignments. You can watch it again, but hopefully that you've taken some notes and wrote down some symbolic, some language, some co-culture, some norms, and some values that were present. Lots of different things. And don't forget this video because it is going to come back again in the next slide. So let's do that now. It always goes funky. Here we go. All right, so differing types of cultures. So now that we've, enlisted the help of Olaf and he's given us examples of the 5 components. So you found some language examples, you found some co-culture examples, some norms, some values, and some symbols in that video. Now we're going to talk about the differing types of cultures, because culture is not just symbols, it's not just values. There's a bunch of other things that go into it, that construct it, that form it, and those kinds of things. So first thing that I want to talk about is an individualism versus a collectivism culture. Now, an individualistic culture emphasizes individuality and responsibility to one's self. So people who live in an individualistic culture are very, very self-driven. It's all about my success, my achievements, what I can do for myself, my family, those kinds of things. So it's very, I don't want to say egotistical, because I do think individualistic cultures can be powerful, they can be empowering, but you're really kind of focused on your own self here. If we think about the Frozen franchise, this is very much Elsa. Conceal, don't feel, now I know, and then she finally realizes, you know what, screw it, I have this power, I'm gonna let it go and just be me, and I don't care about the repercussions, ice, eternal winter. Right? So Elsa in the Frozen franchise is very much an example of an individualistic culture, someone who's individually empowered to do the things they want to do. This is very much America, right? America is a very individualistic culture. The second type of culture is a collectivist culture. And in collectivism, we emphasize loyalty to the family, to the workplace, to the community, more than the needs of the individual. We see this a lot overseas. This is not how America works, but it's definitely how most Asian countries work. It's very focused on the community. Everybody plays their part to make the community better. An example of this in our Frozen is Anna, right? Anna is very focused on Arendelle. How can we save Arendelle? What can we do for Arendelle? The coronation is for Arendelle. Everything that she says is about her kingdom. And everything Elsa says is about her and, protecting her and Anna. So that's very individualistic, and Anna is very collectivistic, all right? Then we have our low context versus high context culture. And this one always confuses me because you'd think it would be opposite, like high and low, but they're kind of flipped. So a low context culture means that verbal communication is expected to be explicit and often interpreted literally. So in low context cultures, we say what we mean, and we're confrontational, and we're to the point. There's no beating around the bush here. I think you're dumb. All right, very literal, very explicit. In Frozen, this is Olaf, right? He was created out of snow, and he just kind of says what he means, even in that clip, right? So you cut down a tree and display its corpse with open flames, and the kids are like, oh, because you wouldn't just say something like that, but he was being very literal and explicit there, right? So that's a low context culture. A high context culture is where verbal communication is often ambiguous and meaning is drawn from contextual clues such as facial expressions and vocal tones. So this is a culture where we pay more attention to nonverbal communication rather than verbal communication. Again, in Asian countries, they aren't really explicitly confrontational, but if you watch their eyes and you watch how people stand and where they put their hands and stuff like that, you can see what they actually mean overseas and in some other countries, particularly in Asian countries. They're very respectful, and they would hate to say something to offend another person, but they might not agree with what they have to do to keep up that form of respect. So low context, we say what we mean, we're very explicit, no boundaries. High context, it's like we've got a high guard up, like we're putting our guard up, right? So we're being a little bit more respectful, our words might be a little bit more ambiguous, and you really have to pay attention to those context cues, such as facial expressions and vocal tone, to really interpret the meaning behind the message. And we can use Sven for this, right? Sven literally can't talk in the movies. Well, in Frozen 2, he kind of gets like a song. So you really have to pay attention to his eye movement. And he goes like, oh, a lot, right? And you have to kind of figure out what he means. And oftentimes, Kristoff interprets that very, very differently. And then Sven has to go and like save the day because no one can really understand what he means. So he's very high context culture. All right, so we got Elsa, who's an individualistic culture. We've got Anna, who's a collectivistic culture. And then we've got Olaf, who's a low context, and we've got Sven, who's a high context culture. So this might be something that you want to think about. What kind of culture is America in? Are we low context? Are we high context? I've already kind of said that we're individualistic. If you're from a different part of the world, what kind of culture are you from? Is your country a individualistic culture, a collectivistic culture? Do you engage in low context or high context form of cultural communication? So this is typically something that we would discuss in class, you know, based off of all of everyone's experiences. But since we're not in class, it's something to think about. All right, and then lastly, I want to talk about how culture can be gendered. And we've got masculine versus feminine culture. All right, in masculine cultures, we cherish traditionally masculine values. These could be things as ambition, achievement, acquisition of material goods, you know, bringing home the dough. All right, so action, action, verb, verb, go out and do something. This is masculine culture. All right, and in masculine cultures, there is very sex-specific roles for men and women, right? Men go to work, they bring the money home. Women stay home and do the cooking and the cleaning, you know, on TikTok right now. Yes, I do the cooking. Yes, I do the cleaning, all that stuff. Women typically aren't in the workplace in masculine cultures. So a lot of that stuff here is changing, but in some parts around the world, you know, you go to like Afghanistan and stuff like that, Iraq, no, women are meant to stay home. I mean, they literally were just able to drive. Like I think in Iraq, women can drive now, which is crazy for them. Wonderful for the world because like women should be able to drive, right? Like duh, but that's very, very new over there. So sex-specific roles for men and women in masculine cultures. In feminine cultures, we tend to cherish traditionally feminine values such as quality of life and service and kindness to others, really. So you might see other countries that have more flat, like everyone's kind of on the same page. We value quality of life. So there might be a lot more farming cultures. There might be more teaching communities. You know, a bunch of people are raising children, men and women, not just women. And there may be sex-specific roles in feminine cultures, but they're not strongly differentiated. So they're more blended. You see men and women doing similar things throughout all of the culture in feminine cultures. All right, then we've got monochronic and polychronic. Chronic is Latin or Greek for like time. So both of these are focused on time. So in monochronic cultures, chronic, however you say it, chronic, right? If you got a chronic illness, that means you don't have very long to live. It's going to kill you. So it's really focused on time. In monochronic cultures, these are cultures that treat time as finite, all right? It can be earned, it can be saved, it can be spent, and it can be wasted. So time is very much a thing. We can lose time. There's not enough time. I need more time, all right? So it's very like, it's finite, it's fleeting, it's gonna go away if we don't use it now. In polychronic cultures, these are cultures that treat time as infinite rather than finite commodity. So it's loose. Oh, we'll get to it when we get to it. All right. Overseas, when you go to college and let's say you go and you study in Paris. I had a friend who studied in Paris and she said she would wait sometimes 20, 30 minutes for the professor to show up. And they're just like, that's expected. Like, I'll get there when I get there. We'll learn what we learn. We'll do what we need to do and everyone will graduate. It's really not that big of a deal. Here, oh my gosh, could you imagine what would happen if I showed up 30 minutes late to class? You'd all be gone. And then I'd have my dean in my office being like, so I hear you're not good getting your classes started on time, right? We're very, very focused on time here in America. This is what we're gonna do. I mean, look at this class, right? You've got assignments that are due on Wednesdays. You've got assignments that are due on Sundays. The new unit's gonna open up on Sundays. We're doing 1 unit a week. If it's late, it's 50% off. So it's very, very monochronic culture here in America. And overseas and in other cultures, it's might be a little bit more polychronic. All right, so when you go back and watch Frozen, if you have nothing to do this week and you want to watch Frozen 1 and Frozen 2, this will be your second extra credit opportunity. Pick one, I don't care which one you watch, but you can watch Frozen 1 or Frozen 2. And I want you to identify elements of culture. Is Arendelle monochronic or polychronic? Is Arendelle a masculine or feminine form of culture? Is Arendelle a collectivist or individualistic culture? Do the characters in Arendelle speak in a way that's more high context or low context? So you can go back and watch one of the Frozen films. For those of you that have Disney Plus, it's on there. For those of you that don't have Disney Plus but have the films, that's great. I'm not sure. I mean, you could probably rent it on Amazon Prime. So extra credit if you want to watch the film and write a little short essay about your different thoughts. There's a little assignment that you'll be able to do for that. But also, I want you to think about what types and kinds of cultures were present in that Olaf video. So just watching that Olaf video clip alone, the last question in your Olaf assignment is going to be, was this video clip more masculine or feminine? Why? Was this video clip more monochronic or polychronic, and why? So I want you to be able to watch that Olaf video of him collecting all of the cultures that we just watched. Watch it again, and this time pay attention to masculinity versus femininity, monochronic versus polychronic, and then defend your choice and explain to me why you think it's this over that, all right? So extra credit, watch one of the Frozen films and kind of critique it overall. And your first assignment is going to be to rewatch that Olaf music video, the song, and kind of identify those components of culture, but also talk about this slide and the previous slide, what you saw in it. And the last assignment that I want you to do this week is an assignment that I call Hunting for Culture. Now, culture isn't just where we're from. I've been talking about Asian countries and European countries and America a lot, but remember we talked about co-cultures too. Culture could be drama and how we dance and how we dress. It could be the food that we eat, the religion that we have faith in. It could be rituals that we do, customs that we've created, how we speak, slang, what we believe in, our attitudes towards certain things. All of this makes up culture. Typically, I would have you do a scavenger hunt across campus to look and see what kind of cultural artifacts are present here at Harper. Obviously, we can't do that during certain times. Everyone should be socially distancing, and we don't really want anyone on campus. Just, we don't want you to be at risk, and we don't want you to risk any others. So I want you to hunt online. on Harper's website and try to find 10 examples of culture. Now, you might not find an example of culture right on their homepage. You might have to click through. You can look at faculty. Is faculty diverse? You can look at the clubs and student things to do. What kind of clubs do we have? What kind of pictures are present on our website? What kind of classes do we offer? So go through a deep dive and really kind of look through the Harper College's website and make the determination, are we a cultural school or not? And why? If we're not, what are some things that maybe we can do to fix this, to be more culturally respectful, to be more culturally inviting? How can we be more cultural at Harper? If we are, what are the things that we're doing that makes us really culturally salient? So go through Harper's website and click, and try to find 10 examples of culture. So in your assignment, you're gonna see cultural example 1. Paste the link to the page that you found and then explain why this is an example of culture. You can use things from the book that I did not talk about. You can use things from this lecture, but try to use that similar language, the concepts, the terms from the book and from the lecture. All right, and then this will be due by Sunday. So you're not gonna come back to class and be ready to share. You're just gonna kind of do this as an assignment. All right, and then that is all I have for you this week. So you've got only 2 things to do this week, and that is to rewatch the Olaf video and complete the Olaf assignment, and then hunt around Harper's website for examples of culture. Hopefully you'll be able to find 10. If you can't find 10, at least try to find 5. But I really hope that you can find 10. This is the first time that I'm doing this assignment online, so we'll kind of experience it all for the first time together. And hopefully it doesn't take you too much time. And I hope that you enjoyed our little lesson around Frozen. And if you have any questions about culture or anything that I didn't talk about that's in this chapter 2 that you want me to go over, please just shoot me an email and let me know. So everything that you'll have to do this week will be due by Sunday. And don't forget, as always, every week you'll have your go reaction. So pick something from the book that you read, pick something from the lecture that I said that you really enjoyed, and have a go reaction response to that. So that's every single unit. So if I don't say that in the video lecture or the lesson, just know that that is something that you have to do. So you can talk about the components of culture. There's a part in your text about social media and how social media can be used as culture. You can talk about uncertainty avoidance and how we avoid that. You can talk about cultural universals. So there's lots of things, cultural communication codes. I mean, there's lots of things in the text that we did not talk about in this lecture today that you could use for your go reaction response. So remember that you have to do those, and then the next week you'll have to comment on each other's. So the first thing that you'll want to do this week is comment on everyone's go reaction last week about their reactions to the communication process and stuff like that. And then you're going to want to, do another go reaction response for this. Hopefully that's not too confusing. If it is, just let me know. Any questions, I'm here to help. Have a wonderful week, and yay, Frozen. Are you team Anna or team Elsa? I'd love to know that too. Anyways, that's just me being silly. All right. Yeah. Show yourself and have a wonderful week.